Hello, and welcome to Classic Country Backstories. I'm Colleen Gallagher. From the cotton fields of Mississippi to the bright lights of Nashville, Conway Twitty's journey was anything but ordinary. Conway's career brought him an astounding 55 number one hits, making him one of the most successful country artists of all time. Twitty topped Billboard's Hot Country Song charts 40 times in his career, a record that stood for 2 decades until it was surpassed by George Strait in 2006. Twitty was often called the best friend a song ever had for his ability to take the words of a songwriter to a new level with his delivery. Sometimes this success overshadowed the fact that he was a successful songwriter as well, writing 11 of his Billboard country hits.
Nashville, Tennessee, country music capital of the world, home of the Grand Ole Opry, where singers and dreamers come seeking stardom. Join me as we learn about the lives and careers of those who built this town on Classic Country Backstories.
Conway Twitty was born Harold Lloyd Jenkins, September 1st, 1933, in Friars Point, Mississippi. His parents were Floyd and Velma Jenkins. He was named by his great-uncle after his favorite silent screen actor, Harold Lloyd. Harold's siblings were Howard and Norma Jean. When Jenkins was 10 years old, his family moved to Helena, Arkansas. There he started his first country band, the Phillips Country Ramblers. In 1953, Harold married Ellen Matthews. They had one son, Michael. Jenkins was good at baseball and showed potential as a professional baseball player. However, he had a change in plans. In 1953, Harold was drafted into the U.S. Army during the Korean War. Harold and Ellen divorced sometime in 1954. After discharge, Jenkins embraced the rock and roll sounds of Elvis Presley and wrote songs and worked with other artists at Sun Records in Memphis. He recorded for Sun, but the records were never released. He did land a cut with Sun artist Roy Orbison, who recorded Rock House. In 1956, Jenkins married Temple Mickey Medley. They had 3 children together, Kathy, Joni, and Jimmy. In 1957, Harold changed his name to Conway Twitty after the towns of Conway, Arkansas, and Twitty, Texas. In 1958, Conway Twitty wrote and released his first song called It's Only Make-Believe on MGM Records. The song soared to the top of the pop charts and sold over 1 million copies. He followed it up with a string of singles and albums, which made the charts, but his next gold record did not come until 1960 when he released Lonely Boy Blue, selling millions of copies, making Twitty an international sensation, even drawing comparisons to Elvis Presley himself. He also appeared in 6 movies and wrote the scores for 3 of them. The movies were called Platinum High, Sex Kittens Go to College, and College Confidential. Songwriter Harlan Howard brought Walk Me to the Door, written by Twitty, to Ray Price, where it was recorded and became a top 10 hit in 1963 for Price. Conway Twitty's restless spirit wouldn't let him stay in just one lane. By the mid-1960s, he returned to country music, which was his first passion anyway. This decision would redefine his legacy. He moved to Oklahoma, where he formed his band, the Lonely Blue Boys. He signed with Decca Records in 1965. Some were skeptical about Twitty's move from rock star to country singer, but he proved himself when he made it to the top of the country charts for the first time with Next in Line in 1968. In 1970, he released a song that he had written in 1966 called Hello Darlin. The song went to number 1, where it remained for 4 weeks. It also became Conway Twitty's show opener for the rest of his life. Conway Twitty and his band moved to Nashville and renamed his band the Twitty Birds. They performed on the Grand Ole Opry and other major country music shows, solidifying his place in country music over the next decade. During this time, 19 of his hits went to number 1 and 9 others reached the top 5. 15 years ago was the follow-up to Hello Darlin and also made the number 1 position on the Billboard country charts. Conway and Mickey divorced in early 1970, but quietly remarried at the end of that year. In March of 1971, How Much More Can She Stand, one of my personal favorites, was released. Once again, Conway Twitty had another Billboard hit on his hands. In 1971, Loretta Lynn's record producer, Owen Bradley, introduced her to Conway. That same year, they began recording and performing as a duo. Their first release was After the Fire Is Gone, which shot to the top of the charts. The duo went on to record 11 albums together between 1971 and 1988. 5 of their singles were chart toppers. Following After the Fire Is Gone, the 4 songs they took to number 1 were Lead Me On in 1971, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man in 1973, As Soon as I Hang Up the Phone in 74, and Feelin's in 1975. They won tons of awards, including the CMA Vocal Duo of the Year for 4 years in a row. Loretta Lynn and her husband Mooney grew very close to Conway Twitty. Loretta and Conway toured together, and their chemistry on stage was unmatched. While their personalities were quite opposite off stage, it worked for them. Conway was much quieter off stage than Loretta. Oftentimes, Loretta, with her outgoing personality, would joke with Conway, prank him, or even trying to embarrass him at times. However, their relationship was almost like siblings, and the fans loved seeing and hearing them together. Sadly, the Country Music Association never awarded Conway Twitty as a solo artist, but he never complained about it. He was a hard-working man that focused on his music and his fans. Many of Conway's original songs were about infidelity and guilt, along with the connection between the two. Comedian Jerry Clower dubbed Conway the high priest of country music because his following was being compared to a religious revival. The number ones kept coming in 1972 with She Needs Someone to Hold Her When She Cries, I Can't Stop Loving You, and Our Last Date. In 1973, Twitty released You've Never Been This Far Before. Some conservative DJs refused to play the song, saying the lyrics were too suggestive. It still became a number 1. 1974 brought There's a Honky Tonk Angel and I See the 1-2 in Your Eyes to the top of the charts. 1975 was a hot year for Twitty, with Linda on My Mind, Touch the Hand, and This Time I've Hurt Her More Than She Loves Me, all taking the number 1 position on the Billboard U.S. Country Singles Chart. In 1975, Conway released Don't Cry Joni with his daughter Joni Lee. The song was a top 5 for them. After All the Good Is Gone, The Games That Daddies Play, and I Can't Believe She Gives It All to Me all went to number 1 in 1976. 1977 was another blockbuster year for Conway Twitty. Play Guitar Play and I've Already Loved You in My Mind climbed to the top of the charts. During 1978, none of Twitty's songs went to number 1. However, he still claimed the number 2 position with Boogie Grass Band and Your Love Had Taken Me That High, which made it to number 3. In 1978, Twitty released the single The Grandest Lady of Them All, honoring the Grand Ole Opry. Ironically, Twitty was never inducted into the Grand Ole Opry during his lifetime. He remains one of the more prominent Nashville country artists never to have been an Opry member. The single reached the top 20, peaking at 16, but it was well below expectations. It was the first time since 1967 that a single of his failed to reach the top 10, as some radio stations refused to play the song honoring the property of a competitor, by that meaning WSM. Around this time, Conway Twitty updated his image a little. He gave up the slick back hair for the more curly modern hairstyle. His music also shifted somewhat by taking more of a pop sound on. His next 23 singles became top 10s, with 13 of them reaching number 1. As I said earlier, Conway was a good baseball player and had potential. He was actually offered a baseball contract from the Philadelphia Phillies, but was drafted before he could sign the contract. Twitty joined businessman Louis Schmidtau and country singers Cal Smith and Jerry Reed in 1977 as investors in the Nashville Sounds, a minor league baseball team with a Double-A Southern League, which began playing in 1978. He also hosted celebrity softball games for charity. In 1978, Conway bought 9 acres in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He built a 24-room mansion for himself and homes for his mother and his 4 adult children at the cost of around $3.5 million, which was a lot of money in 1978. Reportedly, his primary motivation was to have his family close to him and have a secure legacy after he was gone. He modeled the idea off of Elvis Presley's Graceland, building a place for his fans and his family. The complex also included beautiful gardens, a gift shop, and a museum. Twitty City opened in 1982 as a major tourist attraction. Conway's love of Christmas led him to create elaborate lighting displays and eventually included live reindeer and snow machines. A regular event was a Christmas for Kids concert, which raised funds for underprivileged children. He also built a ball field for the local Little League team that still bears his name. Conway Twitty's charity work was not something he wanted to talk about. He once said that if you have to talk about it, it's not from your heart. He knew what it was like to struggle financially and was determined to help others in need. Conway Twitty had another chart-topping year with 3 number ones in 1979. Don't Take It Away, I May Never Get to Heaven, and Happy Birthday, Darlin. During the 1980s, 12 of Conway Twitty's singles went to number 1, with another 14 making the top 10. I'd Love to Lay You Down was a number 1 in 1980. In 1981, Twitty was getting off his tour bus when he slipped and fell, hitting his head on the steps. John Huey, his steel guitarist, found him lying on the ground. Several people who were close to him, including family members, said that Conway underwent a change in personality after the incident. In 1981, Rest Your Love on Me, Tight Fittin' Jeans, Redneckin Love Makin Night, and The Clown all made it to number 1. Conway remained with CMA Records for most of his career, leaving in 1981 after the label began focusing and promoting newer, younger artists. Then he signed with Elektra Asylum Records in 1982. The label then merged with their sister label, Warner Brothers. He remained with Warner Brothers throughout 1987 when he returned to MCA for the remainder of his career. 1982, Slow Hand became a number 1 on the Billboard charts for Twitty, as did The Rose in 1983. 1984, more number 1 hits were Somebody's Needin' Somebody and I Don't Know a Thing About Love and Ain't She Something Else. In 1984, after 28 years of marriage, Conway and Mickey divorced again. The stress of Twitty's frequent absences took a toll on their marriage. Mickey died in 2021. In 1985, Conway continued taking songs to the top of the charts with Don't Call Him a Cowboy and Between Blue Eyes and Jeans. In 1986, Desperado Love was another chart topper. I really wanted to list all the songs that I knew we all knew and loved from Conway Twitty. There are other songs that made it in the top 5 and 10, but if I listed them here, this episode would seem never ending. He was just that good and that successful. We can't talk about Conway Twitty without talking about his loyal fan base, comprised largely of women. He had a lot of respect for women and sang most of his beloved songs directly to them. They came in droves to see him in concert, and they felt the love he gave to his audience. In 1987, Conway Twitty married for the 4th time to his 36-year-old personal secretary, Dolores D. Henry, who would become his widow in 1993. In 1990, Conway Twitty earned his final number 1 on Billboard with Crazy in Love. It was actually a cover of a song originally recorded by Joe Cocker. The same year, Conway began doing sold-out shows at the Mickey Gilley Theater and the Jim Stafford Theater in Branson, Missouri. He had just sold some other businesses and signed a deal to make Branson his new musical home. On June 4, 1993, Conway Twitty made his final appearance at the Jim Stafford Theater in Branson. Following the show, he collapsed on his tour bus and was rushed to the hospital in Springfield for surgery. Ironically, Loretta Lynn's husband was also at the same hospital recovering from heart surgery. Loretta saw Conway being brought in and stayed with Dee through the night, waiting to hear of his condition. She had the opportunity to see her longtime musical partner one last time and speak some words of encouragement. Conway Twitty died on the morning of June 5, 1993, at Cox South Hospital in Springfield, Missouri, of an abdominal aortic aneurysm. Conway Twitty was only 59 years old. Twitty's funeral service was held on June 9, 1993, at the First Baptist Church in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was laid to rest at the Sumner Memorial Gardens in Gallatin, Tennessee. In 1993, after Conway Twitty's passing, MCA Records released Conway's 58th and last solo album titled Final Touches. It was recorded between March of 1992 and May of 1993 at the Sound Shop in Nashville. The album peaked at number 29 on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart. If you included the albums made with Loretta Lynn, it brings Twitty's total to 67 albums in his career. After a brutal legal battle between Twitty's widow, Dee, and his 4 children, Twitty said he was auctioned off in June of 1994 and sold to the Trinity Broadcasting Network. In recent years, there's been talk about tearing down Conway Twitty's home, but it has been saved by its owner, Trinity Broadcasting Network. The home sustained damage after a tornado in December of 2023. TBN initially planned to demolish the structure, but reversed its decision in 2024 following the public outcry to allow Conway's home to stay. In 1999, Conway Twitty was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Today, Conway Twitty remains a legend, a man who crossed genres, broke records, and left behind a timeless catalog that ensures he will always be remembered as one of country music's greatest icons. If you want to find out more about Conway Twitty's music, there's a lot out there to enjoy that I didn't even have time to cover. He also still has a website, conwaytwitty.com. That's it for this episode of Classic Country Backstories. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave me a comment about your favorite Conway Twitty song. Until next time, take care, God bless, and I'll see you later.